Thank you. Keep letting us know if you need us to make adjustments. I was saying gratitude to all of you for leaving the comforts of the hotel or your lodgings and to meet us here in the comfort of the sacred earth. We today are going to have the opportunity to listen deeply to the land and to her people, to the specificity of the refugium of this place. We will do a short kind of opening litany. We will hear stories from 3 community leaders who have been instrumental, the heartbeat of the recovery from the wildfires that razed this area 5 years ago this month. After that, we will have the opportunity to do about a 15-minute guided meditation along this Bear Creek. And then we'll wrap up with a closing and song and head back for the next part of the program today. And just to say, when we do the walking meditation, you actually don't have to walk. We'll have different options for accessibility, and we'll explain more when we get to that part. Anything else you want to add, James, before we begin? Okay. We'll do a litany of gratitude. And when James or I say, "We give thanks," you respond, "Thank you." Let's practice that. We give thanks.
Thank you.
Take a moment to bring to mind the lands, the watersheds, the homes that we've come from, and those that we traveled through to be here today. The rivers we crossed, the grounds we touched. We give thanks.
Thank you.
Take a moment to bring to mind the other people and beings, plants, rivers, animals, elements that have called those places home. Let your heart especially extend wondering and gratitude to indigenous stewards and caretakers of those places. We give thanks.
Thank you.
Take a moment now to bring to mind, to bring to heart the people and beings that made it possible for us to be here together today. We give thanks.
Thank you.
And now, take a moment to bring to mind a time when, in the midst of destruction, when things fell apart, someone or some place provided shelter for you. That person, that place, that community gave you safety and protection, as well as space to grow and change, so that you could emerge from the rubble not just to survive, but to thrive. Cup your hands together in a gentle gesture of gratitude for that person, that place, that community. we give thanks.
Thank you.
We're honored today to have several partners. I can't hear you. Use the mic.
Speak into your mic.
Got it. Not the phone, the mic. Have to keep remembering that. We're really honored to have these three folks here to share a story of what has helped them most, or what has helped us most in these last 5 years of recovery. And I'd like to introduce Elib, is it Chris Dwyer? Elib Chris Dwyer first.
How do I sound out there?
Good.
Hello everyone. My name is Elib and I'm a member of the community here in the Rogue Valley. I'm curious how many of you are in the Rogue Valley here and come here locally? Great, so there's many folks who are visiting from outside of the area. Great. I'm sure it's been talked about what we went through here in 2020 after the Almeida fire, and we're actually standing right here where the fire passed. There was a trailer park right back that way that was damaged and burned. Many of the homes across the way here as well. So here we are. We're sitting in the spot. I think we were all caught off guard by what happened, needless to say. And what occurred was amazing. Everyone showed up in the early hours and days of this fire. There were folks mobilizing to bring water into town when water was shut off. There were people already beginning to set up a network of organizations and people and churches and governments to begin to address the needs. Personally, I got involved by showing up in a parking lot. There were families looking for water and diapers and food, and that group of people who were showing up began to grow and grow. That effort turned into a year-long, sustained mutual aid station that was operated out of the little strip mall over there by McDonald's. And from that site, we were able to support thousands of people who came throughout that year. There were many organizations, churches, municipalities that had been involved in the beginning, but more so there were individuals. And I think that the people who showed up showed us all what community could be. To be a part of that was life-changing for me. I sat with a friend who was involved in our work a few weeks ago, actually on September 8th, the day of the fire, and she reflected to me, she said, a friend had reached out to me on this anniversary and said, you know, the devastation is just so hard to deal with. We've all lost so much. But she said, you know, I kind of feel bad about this, but I've gained through this experience. I am bigger, I am stronger, and more resilient than I was before. And I got to meet you, and I got to meet Jordan, and I got to meet all of the folks who showed up to help out. I'm not a religious person myself, and my experiences within community have come from many different places. Something that I learned through this process was about this notion of mutual aid. This wasn't a new concept as we began to support our community with supplies and resources, etc. A lot of these principles of recovery came from people who came before us. And many of those ideas about how to support community outside of these systems, outside of these organizations, outside of these governments. Many of those ideas came from the work that happened after Hurricane Katrina in the Gulf Coast. And on August 29th of this year, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Katrina. The volunteers, the community members, the folks on the ground there in New Orleans realized that help wasn't coming. And out of that, they needed to grow new systems to be able to support each other. Knowing that FEMA wasn't going to show up, their state wasn't going to show up, required them to band together and figure out how to solve those problems. Luckily, it was New Orleans, and their resilience is unparalleled, right? They have seen it all throughout the years. Which is a reminder that mutual aid actually isn't a new concept. It's what people have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. We show up for each other. And out of Katrina grew a movement of how we can organize in community outside of the systems that we have seen not really be there in the way that we would hope. Through mutual aid, I have learned and grown and really embodied this idea that we help us. It's not about waiting for someone to come in and help you. It's about showing up where you are and listening to what the needs are. Affected community knows what the problems are. They know what the solutions are. They just lack the resources to get from here to there. And that became our job and our work in recovery. How can we connect these fire survivors with what was out there in the community? Because we all live in abundance. Everything we have exists right here. And nothing showed that more than being involved in this effort. When Christina asked me to do this, I wondered, gosh, what will I talk about? And I have taken a little step back from the recovery work. It's been good for me. But what I'm taking forward is really the power of community. And as we watch around us, the systems not support us in the way that we need, I can remember that we will help us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sarah asked me to sing one verse in between so we can hold and really take in the gifts of our storytellers. Water be my teacher, water carry me, teach me transformation, take me to the sea. Show me how to break through rock, flow around what tries to block. Water be my teacher, water carry me.
Testing. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Hi everyone, I'm Tessa. I'm the Director of Operations and Engagement at the Jackson County Community Long-Term Recovery Group. If you've had a major federally declared disaster in your area, you may have a long-term recovery group. I encourage you to get involved. We convene different organizations, faith-based partners, and government bodies as well to support recovery from disaster. And we could use your help, guaranteed. I'm not a joke teller public speaker, so I might cry. So thank you all for all the ways you show up in service to your communities. When I think about recovery, I can't not think about all the folks who never received help. Many of those folks had just enough resources to, quote, recover, end quote, from the fires, but still carry significant financial burden from what it took for them to get there. And 5 years later, some have still not been able to land home. For those, we push forward with determination to do everything in our capacity to help them navigate a challenging system until they can, in some way, be made whole again. And yet, after experiencing these shattering losses, there will be some wounds that will never heal. Some of these folks were face to face with the flames as they tried to leave their homes and evacuate, the bottom of their shoes melting as they left all they had known to be safe and familiar. For some, a home that held a whole lifetime. Let us continue to do our best to hold their grief and to show up in service. In a world of increasing extreme weather events, let us do everything in our power to build better systems to hold our people for this disaster and the next one. Thank you.
Water be my teacher, water carry me, teach me transformation, take me to the sea. Show me how to break through rock, flow around what tries to block. Water be my teacher, water carry me.
Testing. Gwelwakwidu. Good morning. Jordan Kwadait. Nahan Kulidana Eite. Rogue Action Center, Gahal Bahamte. Good morning. My name is Jordan Bruin Fry. I use she, her pronoun. You're hearing yourself is not fun. I'm enrolled Cow Creek, and I'm here with a member of Rogue Action Center, and I have been a part of recovery work from the beginning. As a volunteer, prior we're working on COVID relief, so on top of everything we were dealing with, we had that separation. Not only physically from our neighbors being dispersed, but also when we could be together, we were not actually together. So that was an added layer. And I'm grateful that they were able to give me some historical context to it, because something that kept resonating with me on the drive here as everyone was talking is movement, both the gathering of people, but also whatever you are called to do in the face of disaster. That movement is medicine. And just like in the song, the way water moves across rocks, that's hard work. But it's the good work. It's the work that at the end of the day you may be exhausted, but you want to get right back out there and run over those rocks. And so I'm just so grateful for all of you to come here and be in physical movement, spiritual movement, mental health movement with one another. Being on the land will teach us everything we need to know. And so I just welcome you all with an open heart and an open mind to be in movement together, because that's where that good work, that good heart-filling movement will pursue us into the future long after any of us are even here. So Dawuk, thank you, it is good.
Water be our teacher, water carry me, teach me transformation, take me to the sea. Show me how to break through rock, flow around what tries to block. Water be our teacher, water carry me.
Thank you again, Tessa, George, Ela. We're so grateful for you and for the way that you continue to nurture life here in this community. So next we're going to have the opportunity in small groups to connect more deeply with this place, with this land, to discover the refugia that are here alongside this creek, in this neighborhood, in this watershed. Christina's going to pass out some handouts that have a series of prompts, and we invite you to find one or two other people. So you'll do this in pairs or groups of 3. And you can stay here. You can choose to walk along the path. If you'd like, you can sit on some of the benches and do it in a stationary way. We will have a bell here to indicate when it is time to move from the first movement to the second movement, to the third movement, to the fourth, and to the fifth. You can choose one of your people to read aloud the prompts and the reflections, or take turns. And I invite us to do this slowly. to really take time to listen to the land with our whole beings, with all our senses. I think I learned recently that we have much more than the 5 senses that I was taught in elementary school. So let's activate all those senses. And we'll take about 15 minutes for this. So that's like 3 to 4 minutes for each of these sections. If you can't,
That's a great question. And by way of answer, we had red flag warning day on September 8th, 2020. So the winds were incredibly fast and sideways, and they were whipping all over the valley. I used to love a windy day. I don't anymore, not because of the way it is physical memory, but because of that wind, the fire jumped around, and there are places where it burnt 5 houses on a block, but skipped the last 2, and it really, on that day, depended which way the wind blew. So some of our trees were here. This park was here. Blue Heron Park existed along the Bear Creek Greenway. And this was one of the places that the community wanted to repair first. Because we were so isolated in COVID, and it was going to take so long for housing to be restored. This is one of the priorities for the community, so that kids could play again, and gardens could be planted, and people could gather outdoors. So this was a priority for the community to replant first. James was going to say that on that day I was on one end of the fire and he was on the other end of the fire. So how many miles? Do you remember how many miles did it?
It'd be at least 10 to 12 miles.
10 to 12?
It was like 10 to 12 miles, this space, and 2,300 or so homes, and a bunch more businesses. Something about 2,800 structures burned.
40% of our student body was homeless.
And 40% of the student body of the schools lost their homes in that fire. On that day, I was on one end of the fire and he was on the other end of the fire. So, how many miles? Do you remember how many miles did it?
It'd be at least 10 to 12 miles.
10 to 12?
It was like 10 to 12 miles, this space, and 2,300 or so homes, and a bunch more businesses. Something about 2,800 structures burned.
40% of our student body was homeless.
And 40% of the student body of the schools lost their homes in that fire. Was that what you wanted me to share? That's a great question. And by way of answer, we had Red flag warning day on September 8th, 2020. So the winds were incredibly fast and sideways, and they were whipping all over the valley. I used to love a windy day. I don't anymore. Not because of the way it is physical memory. But because of that wind, the fire jumped around. And there are places where it burnt 5 houses on a block, but skipped the last 2. And it really, on that day, depended which way the wind blew. So some of our trees were here. This park was here. Blue Heron Park existed along the Bear Creek Greenway. And this was one of the places that the community wanted to repair first. Because we were so isolated in COVID, and it was going to take so long for housing to be restored, this is one of the priorities for the community, so that kids could play again and gardens could be planted and people could gather outdoors. So this was a priority for the community to replant first. James was going to say that on that day I was on one end of the fire and he was on the other end of the fire. So how many miles? Do you remember how many miles did it?
It'd be at least 10 to 12 miles.
10 to 12?
It was like 10 to 12 miles, this space, and 2,300 or so homes, and a bunch more businesses. Something about 2,800 structures burned.
40% of our student body is homeless.
And 40% of the student body of the schools lost their homes in that fire. Was that what you wanted me to share? Credit for this song goes to the artist Milk, M-I-L-C-K. She writes many anthems for these times. And there's harmony, so if you're one of those people that likes to add harmony, go for it. I'm going to sing it 3 times as we hold all the gifts of this encounter with the land and with one another in this place. Water be my teacher, water carry me, teach me transformation, take me to the sea. Show me how to break through rock, flow around what tries to block. Water be my teacher, water carry me. Water be my teacher, water carry me. Teach me transformation, take me to the sea. Show me how to break through rock, flow around what tries to block. Water be my teacher, water Thank you all.
But I wanted to give Pastor James an opportunity to speak a little bit more.
Well, so I have been at our congregation for about a year, but I've lived in the Medford Congregational United Church of Christ. And yeah, I lived in the valley, and I remember when the Almeida fire was going through. And this morning was a very emotional time for those of us who lived through it. And what we didn't tell was the church story. And our congregation, a year ago, September 8th, we had an open house to talk about resilience, but it turned into a day of grief because it was the anniversary of the Almeida fire. And we shared stories with one another about what we went through. And Karen Caldwell helped facilitate that, and Sarah Loze was there, and Christina was holding space for us in that. But we have kind of lived with that and what it means for us to be a church that is there as a resilient space in the midst of crisis, in the midst of trauma that we carry from that. And that has borne some fruit. We've had further discussions about emergency preparedness and how we can help one another. We've been firming up connections with community partners. I personally participate with Rogue Climate. It has a resiliency cohort, and part of that relationship is the fruit of that. But also, we're on a journey. We don't know what that looks like. So that's why I don't have slides. I don't have, I'm the only eye candy you get.
You'll do.
Well, thank you. But it is a part of our story of like how we can be a light and a witness and hope for the community that in many ways is still grieving, and it really caught me by surprise today of how much of that I'm still carrying. So I know I had a few of you I kind of broke down when I was telling you about what happened that day and about the destruction in Phoenix and in Talent, and it's still hard. But how do we be light in the midst of that? And so that's our story, and it doesn't have an ending because it is a story in process. And I think that's most of us, is we are in process wondering how we respond to the death and destruction and how we can become Refugia.
I want to say that work of resiliency hubs and imagining how we can be resiliency hubs is work that Sarah Loze is doing with Together Lab, and is available to do in other churches. And if you want to do some imagining about what it's like to be a resiliency hub, I invite you to reach out to Sarah about that. So